Hello, my name's Gareth Bear. I'm the Senior Project Manager at Accurascale, and the Class 37s is a project that I've been working on for a very long time. We've made very many versions, and we're about to release our second part of our third run. So without any further ado, here it is, the Mirrlees version of the Class 37-9. This is the first time this has been produced in 00 gauge, well actually in any scale to be honest. So what is a Class 37-9? A Class 37-9 is actually a repowered Class 37. So instead of just the basic upgrades at the refurbishing stage, the whole original English electric power unit and generator were removed and replaced with new power units with alternators. So the 37901 to 904, they had the Mirrlees MB275T, which was actually longer and taller than the original English electric power unit. This meant that they had a very noticeable hump on the top of the roof. The other two, 37905 and 906, they had the Ruston RK270T. This was actually almost half the weight of the original English electric power unit. So there was no issues with fitting it within the original car body. So let me tell you a bit more about the Class 37-9, but to do that we have to kind of spool back a bit to the early 1980s when BR was looking at modernising its fleet. There was a project called Class 38, which was a replacement for the Class 37, Class 31s and other kind of medium-powered mixed traffic locomotives. At the time, BR was looking at building roughly 500 of these locomotives, and it attracted the interest of a number of manufacturers. It's no secret that BR wanted the EMD engine. They wanted the 645 or the 710. The 710 is what we see in the Class 66 nowadays. However, there were two British companies with storied histories that were not going to let the Americans have it all their own way. First, there was Mirrlees, the famous Mirrlees Blackstone, who provided the engines for the Class 30 back in the 1960s. Now, this engine had a troubled life and ended up being replaced by an English electric power unit. However, there was reasons for that due to uprating and stuff like that, but it wouldn't exactly inspire confidence with BR. There was also Ruston. Now, Ruston by then was a part of GEC, but the Ruston engine actually could date back to the 1930s. However, these two new British engines, they were significantly upgraded from their 1960s or even 1930s iterations. They had larger cylinder bores and fewer cylinders, so actually produced the same amount of power, but with fewer cylinders, which meant fewer lower maintenance costs. The two British engine manufacturers had something else up their sleeves. With both engines having passed BR's punishing type testing regime, the next step was to move on to trials in a live locomotive. Fortunately at the time, BR was undergoing a refurbishing process at the time at Crewe Works. This was putting Class 37s through an intense rebuild that involved replacing the original generator with an alternator, fitting CP7 bogies, which were geared for 80 miles an hour, and rewiring and various other upgrades to give the locomotives another 10 to 20 years of life. 6 of these locomotives ended up being siphoned off into an upgrade program with the new engines, 4 from Mirrlees and 2 from Ruston. The Mirrlees quartet were numbered 37901 to 904, and the Ruston pair were 905 and 906. This brings me nicely onto the models. Here we have the first 3 releases in our range of 37-9s. There will be more in the future, of course, but we've decided to go with these 3 examples here. We have 37901 in its classic Europhoenix livery. We did 37608 in our first run in the Rail Operations Group version. Well, this is in the Europhoenix version of that same livery. We have 37902 in Rail Freight Metals as British Steel Land Wern, and we have 37903 in its delivery paint scheme, the original Rail Freight Grey. This is our first release of a locomotive in Rail Freight Grey. We're doing the Mirrlees version as part 2 of our third run. There's a reason for that. It's the most dramatic and most interesting of the two variants. We've correctly modelled the humpback roof, and we've actually done two different versions. Although the Mirrlees power unit and its brush alternator were incredibly reliable, there were silencer issues and turbocharger issues early on with actually all 6 locomotives, and both saw modifications through the course of their lives. So 37902 and 903, they have their original version with the twin ports. 37901, which is almost in its current condition, it's recently been repainted, has its most latest version of its exhaust port. There are other upgrades to the model since our first 2 runs. These have the working roof fan, the same as what we've seen on the Class 31 and the Class 50. We've upgraded the windscreens and the bonnet top doors. We now have engine room interior detailing and see-through radiator grills. And as you would expect from Accurascale, we'll be providing etched nameplates, depot plaques and arrows for the locomotives that have them, and also full buffer beam pipework and our amazing 3-piece snow plows, which are just like the real thing, and the NEM versions as well for people with tight corners. There are also modifications internally as well as the working fan. We've upgraded the light package to have switchable tail lights. Also, the model comes with the Stairlive as standard and our Accurafresh speaker package on the DCC Sound models. And finally, of course, we've recorded a brand new sound file for these Class 37.9s. I would like to thank the guys at UKRL Leicester and Rail Operations Group for allowing us access to the locomotive. So thanks for watching. 37902 and 37903 you can order from Accurascale.com and from any of our retail partners. 37901 will be an Accurascale exclusive and only available from Accurascale.com. The models will be available in 2025 and will be released at the same time as the rest of the models in this run.